to our homeschool documentary.
So, what is homeschooling, you may ask?
Homeschooling is basically exactly what it sounds like. You're learning at home. But there are a lot of different methods to homeschooling, such as school at home, which is where you have a pre-packaged curriculum.
All the way to unschooling, which is where you learn from everyday experiences, and there's so much in between.
So in this documentary, you are going to hear from a lot of different homeschoolers about their homeschooling experience. So let's get started.
My name is Phoebe and I am 13.
I'm Lyle and I'm 14.
My name is Milo. I'm 13, almost 14 years old. I'm Nate. I'm 13. Thank you.
My name is Sophie. I am 16 years old.
My name is Bellanora, and I am 17.
I have been homeschooled my entire life.
I was homeschooled for 3 years. And I might be homeschooled again.
I've been homeschooled my entire life up until next year, which I'm going to high school.
More than 8 years-ish.
My entire life.
My whole life. My whole schooling life.
It was mostly my decision. They were going to be supportive if I decided to go to school or not. But yeah, I've also got really bad dyslexia, which is part of it.
Because we didn't want a one-size-fits-all education, we believed that every kid should learn the way that is best and easiest and most productive for them.
My parents felt like I would get a better education and just a general school experience if I was at home rather than being in a public school where there's bullies and teachers that don't care whether you pass or not, so. Because I wasn't doing well in normal schooling. Also, the people were jerks. They were jerks to me in 2nd grade.
My parents chose to homeschool me because they wanted to instill me with their values, which often conflict with those put forth by the public school system.
Well, since Sophie and I are related, it's the same reason.
Let me start with my least favorite. People assuming that my life sucks because I'm homeschooled. They're wrong, and they're blatantly wrong, and they should try to be a little more open-minded rather than just immediately making assumptions. And I have two things that I like about homeschooling. I like that I have many great opportunities and experiences that can technically count as my schoolwork, like as extra credit. Like all these fun like field trips and labs that I do, and they count as extra credit. And throwing around homeschool dances. That's gotta be my most favorite part of homeschooling ever. I have not had a single negative experience with those dances, except for someone who shall not be named. Yeah, that's pretty much the coolest thing about homeschooling, that we get out there and we do things that we organize and we choose to do, rather than like the school system having these set things like, spontaneously, like, in 2 days, this is probably a bit too late, but do you want to go do this thing? And people go like, yeah, actually my day's free then, and then it's spontaneous. And you have planned things, so it's a little bit of both. It's chaos.
My favorite part of being homeschooled would have to be majority of having an open schedule and having a flexible curriculum. And my least favorite is probably not being as social, just not seeing as much people.
Okay.
Well, at the moment I can't think of anything that I don't like about it. If I was to make a joke, it'd be I sleep too late sometimes. But my favorite part, well, there's many reasons, but one probably I don't have to rush to get my homework done every day. If that makes sense. I don't know. It's one of the things.
My favorite part would probably be how we tend to switch up our schedule a lot. We aren't spending every single day in a classroom, and we are learning just as much as those who do. We have more time to go on field trips and vacations, and everywhere I go, I learn something new. Let's see, what would my favorite? What's the way least like? It's really hard. There isn't much I don't like about homeschooling. But if I had to choose, it would probably how I don't see my friends enough during the really cold winter months. But that isn't even too bad because I mean every year at the library we get more programs and so more opportunities to see my friends.
My favorite part is that we can explore our interests whenever we want at the pace that we want to. And all the different things we get to experience, we're not confined to one school area and the activities going on in that school area. And my least favorite thing is probably the people who are like, oh, you're homeschooled? How do you know stuff? And I'm just like, That's what I have to say to them, just,
My favorite part of being homeschooled was probably staying home. I love being home. I don't like having to wake up every single morning at like 6 o'clock or something like that, getting dressed, packing my bag, trying not to forget my lunch or something like that, and then going to school. I like that. I also like that I can get my work done anytime I want, as long as I get it done by the end of the week or something like that. And my least favorite part is you don't see as many people every day. With normal schooling, you see the same people every day, which isn't the greatest, but you still see people. But with homeschoolers, you don't see people as much. You still see people, but you don't see them as much.
Nope. No. I mean, well, maybe if the high school was newer, cleaner, had maybe 1,500 less kids, I'd think about it. But yeah, probably not. I just wouldn't fit in at public school. Part of the reason is my beliefs, which are a big part of who I am, and a lot of the things they teach in public school contradict my beliefs. But the other part is all the people. If you look at me with my close friends, you'd think I'm the most outgoing person in the world, but if you put me in a big crowd of people I don't know, I will just get terribly shy and nervous. So, yeah. I mean, over time, I'd probably, get to know some people, but still. There's, 2,300 kids at the high school here. It would be just too much. So, yeah, that's the reason.
Absolutely not. I don't think I would try being homeschooled. Unless they have, a pool and they pay you, $10,000 to go to school. They pay you to go to school.
no, because they do have a one-size-fits-all education, and that's not how I want to work.
I wouldn't go to public school, obviously, because between bullying and, like I said earlier, the teachers not caring if you pass, they just care about the whole class, doing good as a whole. And then a million other reasons, I just feel like there's no way in heckity-doo-doo that I would do anything except for homeschool. Plus, if I don't say this, my mom will get mad.
I'm going to public school. Majority of it is just so I can see a lot of my friends. They're pretty much all in school at this point, and I don't know.
we are pretty much the definition of unschoolers, which is where we don't learn by using workbooks or, okay, it's this time, now you're going to do this subject, or now you're going to do this subject. We learn based entirely on our interests, and so it's like, for history, I'm interested in theater, so let me take this theater book of, the history of theater, or old plays, or something like that. And so it's more interest-based learning.
Some people use like online stuff, blah blah blah. I use a prepared, like structured lesson plan. Like I have stuff that I have a certain number of math, a certain number of science, history lessons that I'll do in a week, and I can choose myself whether I want to like get a whole bunch of math done, like 3 lessons in one day, which hurts, or I can do like a little bit of everything per day. But the only problem with that is sometimes I get lazy. And I forget, and then I usually have to cram Thursday and Friday, but that's never usually a problem. I only made that mistake once or twice. I'm smarter about things, usually. And there are many different types of homeschooling, but I feel like the structured plan works the best for me. Mine is more like semi-structured, actually, because it's not like, do this, then do this, then do this, but it's not like, do whatever you want to do, I'm gonna go make a cup of tea and watch Downton Abbey. It's like a mix. Like my mom's like, okay, here's the stuff you have to do this week. You choose what you want to do per day, but try to get a little bit of each done per day.
For us, for me, I always say us for Phoebe. It's probably closest to the unschooling method. I mean, we always say everything we do counts towards schooling, and it does. I mean, it does. I do a lot of, like, we use school books and math books and stuff, and English and all the subject books. But we don't, like, use one set curriculum. We take, like, some of this, some of that. And my mom will tend to tell... She will say, I gotta do this many pages of this, and then I just have to get it done by the end of the day, and I can do it at my own leisure. But this year or next year, I'm gonna probably be doing online schooling, which will be new and interesting, and I'm interested to see how that'll work.
Video homeschooling.
Describe video homeschooling.
It's on a disc, you put it in the DVD player, you push play, and you watch and learn. Yeah, I'm funny.
All right, thank you.
You're
It
welcome.
varies from year to year, it really depends.
I actually did a paper on this recently about prejudice, and in my experience as a straight white male, I have had very little prejudice towards me, except for the fact that I'm homeschooled. People assume, based on like the 0.1%, that's just a random number, I don't know, of homeschoolers that are like antisocial, shut-ins, have no social skills. They assume that all homeschoolers are like that because they just want to pick on them. But most homeschoolers have better social skills because rather than seeing the same little groups of people every day in your classes and your lunch hall, you see different people depending on what you're doing. And that lets you make new connections, figure out, work on, okay, so we don't have a lot in common, but let's try to still be friends. Things that in school you just be like, oh, we have nothing in common, let's ignore each other. And, one of the things that helps, I know I'm kind of being self-centered, but the homeschool dances that we throw. I'm bringing those back. I'm talking about those again because we get people across the river, from Rhinebeck, and super close, homeschoolers that live super close that we didn't even know existed. And we're meeting all these new people, and they're a bit shy at first, and they kind of loosen up, and they start having a lot of fun, and we're dancing, and everything's cool, and yeah.
I would say that I have more friends than a lot of my friends that are in school and better social skills than a lot of them. I think it really varies from person to person though. I know a lot of kids that are homeschooled that don't have a lot of friends and have poor social skills, but in a sense it's kind of better for them to be homeschooled because there's no pressure put on them to be in somewhere where wouldn't fit in. So
When I was homeschooled, I had so many friends. I've met most of my friends at homeschool things. Most of my friends that I know are like at homeschool events and not at school.
I disagree very much. I mean, it's true some homeschool kids don't have as many friends, but that's often a choice of theirs. Either they're like introverts and they don't particularly like being around more people, in which case that's their choice. But I personally, as a homeschooler, have a lot of friends. And another thing that I really like about being homeschooled is that we don't just have friends from the 14 to 18 range. Like, it's more than just that age group or more than just the grade that we're in. It's also, I have friends from the age of like 7 to 75. Like, it's almost interesting to me because I feel like people who aren't homeschooled almost feel more awkward or less comfortable around adults or younger kids, whereas I'm around an adult or a younger kid and I just speak to them as I would to any of my peers. And so I think that that's pretty cool.
That they need to get to understand it more. That we do have plenty of friends and we're very social.
I don't know how many friends I have. I have too many. No, I don't have too many. But I have a lot of friends. I mean, there are some homeschoolers who their families don't take them anywhere and they just stay in their house all day, but I'm not one of those. I go to a homeschool group. I go to the library where I met like 80% of all of my friends. And then I go to a youth group at my church and I have lots of friends there. And so I think it's just about if you gotta go out into the world and make friends. And because there's a lot of other homeschoolers who want to meet people just like you. So yeah.
The fun thing is that I really don't know yet. I know that I have a lot of interests and I've sort of flip-flopped on, I want to be an actress, I want to be an artist, I want to be a baker, to the point where I'm thinking I won't be satisfied if I'm any one of those things and I have to find a way somehow to combine like all of my interests. But I think what homeschooling has done for me is that it's instilled multiple interests in me because I've always had the freedom to explore. So since I've always explored so many different things, I've been introduced to all these other things, so I have the options. Now I get to decide.
I want to be like a stay-at-home mom, but I also want to be an artist. And saying that I've been homeschooled my entire life, it's helped me to expand into different hobbies like crafting, making different things. And I don't think if I was public schooled, I'd have the time to really like explore that.
I want to be an artist, and I think that homeschooling has definitely helped me refine my art skills because it's given me the time to do that, and it's put me in a place where I can focus on that.
Well, I would like to be a writer. I would like to be a famous writer if possible. I have wanted to be a writer since I was 6 years old, and I had a vision for the story and the series I'm working on writing. I think as a homeschooler, I have more time to work on my writing instead of being at a school for 8 hours a day. And so, yeah. I also want to be a mom.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm going to be a mom, and I'm going to be writing while the kids are napping. That's my plan. But yeah, I would like to be a famous writer if it works out.
All right, thank you, Sophie.
Okay.
I want to do graphic design. I'm very into that. And homeschooling has helped me because my mom is also pretty good at art, and she is able to help me learn. She's able to help me learn how to draw and stuff like that.
Well, I want to be a biomedical engineer, and it helps that since I was little, like maybe 5, I've been obsessed with robots. An ungodly obsession. That's the one thing that I've kept like a liking for up until now. Like, robots are cool. But biomedical engineering is like making prosthetics, like arms, legs, hands, pacemakers, fake eyes, ear implants and stuff, to help people who have an impairment or like what is the word for it?
Amputation.
Yeah, when they're an amputee, to help them use that limb again and be whole again, I guess the word for it is. And there are 2 parts of this: the design approach, like making them look cool and stuff. Like there are some insanely artistically designed prosthetics which I think are really cool looking. And there's the installation, which kind of grosses me out, like where you graft it onto them. And you need to know math, science, and pretty sure it's mainly those 2 things in order to be able to do this. So my mom has like asked me, okay, what kind of math do you want to do? What kind of, like, how do you want to approach learning science? That way I can get the most out of it and be ready for medical school. That way I can tackle it, conquer it, and be a doctor. And then I can turn people into the next RoboCops. I mean, help them be whole again.
Milo! Yes. I just need to think a minute. It's just, to me, it's the only way to go. The public school system is just really kind of messed up sometimes. Not all places, but with homeschooling, you don't have to worry about bullies unless your little sister wants to annoy you. You get to sleep in. I mean, there's studies that say that like the teenagers, their brains don't really start. They're not ready to learn until 10 o'clock in the morning anyway.
Yeah.
So for 2 hours, kids at the high schools aren't learning very much. It's just, they hear it, but it's not getting registered in their brains.
It's awesome, and if you're not homeschooled, then you should do it.
Is that it?
Seems legit.
Yeah.
I think that homeschooling is a personal decision. It's not for everybody, for sure. Some people are like, okay, I need to be around 2,000 people every day, otherwise I will not be satisfied. Chances are, by definition of logic, I don't think it's possible to have like 2,000 siblings. So if you're like that, public school would be for you. But I think that if you don't want school to confine the way you learn, then homeschooling is for you. And also, just as an extra thought, one time my friend said to me, gosh, I don't know how you can be homeschooled. I don't think I could stand being around my parents every single moment of every day. And I was just like, that's so odd. I love my parents. I love being around my parents. Most homeschool families that I know have great relationships with all of their siblings and their parents, which I think is less common in a school setting, because there's always this back and forth of the parents being, get your homework done, and the kids being, gosh, you don't know my life, stop telling me what to do, and all this crazy stuff, just a constant tug and pull. So I think that homeschooling has also really instilled has really fostered a good family environment.
It's really good, like, if you feel, this is a shout out to all you school kids who feel like school sucks, which should be most of you. If you feel like there's some particular things, like about the teaching in school, or about, like, bullies in school or something, that you feel like you really just cannot go to school there, then talk to your parents about homeschooling, because if you live in a community that has homeschoolers, you can like borrow books and stuff, and your parents won't have to pay for everything. Your education will usually end up better, and colleges want homeschoolers. They really, really want homeschoolers. You have a better chance of doing things in life if you're a homeschooler. So keep that in mind next time the teacher's like, "Meh!" or someone's like, "Hey punk, give me your money." So yeah, peace.
Thank you, Milo.
It's awesome. Peace.
Is that it?
Yes.
That I wouldn't say it's for everyone, but I wouldn't say it's for no one. I think that it's really an acquired taste. Yeah, it's like mushrooms.
So we hoped you enjoyed this documentary, and hopefully you learned more about homeschooling.
To homeschool or not to homeschool? That is the question everybody has to answer for themselves. Thank you.
Bye.
So long.
Till next time.